We'll let you know. Okay, I call the meeting to order.
You got minutes?
Oh, sorry. Minutes from the previous meeting, any corrections?
Now, I'm puzzled. This says a meeting of September 19th. That wasn't our previous, 10th. That wasn't our previous meeting. We had an October meeting, right? We didn't. No, we didn't? Oh, okay. I thought we met. Oh, you know why? I've got three different organizations. Wasn't you.
Okay,
All right, sorry.
no problem. Any corrections?
No.
All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Oh, I need a nomination, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to accept the
Okay.
meeting minutes of
Second.
September 10th.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See what a month's off does me. Okay.
So the work session discussion item A is the recommendations of the CDC and e-cigarette products. This was brought to us from Dr. Cushing in September prior to the temporary ban on all electronic products.
Prior to a lot of things.
Yes.
What?
So I can give you a little update on where the CDC is and the state. The CDC has done quite a few testing of the patients with the lung illnesses, and just last Friday they confirmed one common thread in all of the patients was a vitamin E additive in mainly off-market or black market THC pods.
Does it have to be both? Or could it be either or?
Off-market or black market?
No. THC or vitamin E acetate.
The products were THC vaping products, so marijuana products, and the vitamin E was added to it. So if you were to get THC pods from a dispensary, they don't add vitamin E to it. And dispensaries undergo many quality controls. And
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but the question is, do you have to have both ingredients present in order to get the lung disease?
no. Well, the CDC's
The research, yeah.
the research showed that all of the vaping illnesses had vitamin E, and all of those people admitted to using THC products
Every
as
one
well.
of them, no exception.
No exceptions,
Oh,
right?
So it's both.
Well, they don't
don't
know
know. Yeah.
because all of these people also used electronic
Yeah.
tobacco products too. So it's hard to really distinguish.
Okay. But vitamin E is that added to any commercial products?
We don't know, so that's why they haven't lifted the ban or done
Yeah.
anything. They have lifted the ban on marijuana dispensaries because they are controlled and we know
Yeah.
what's in those. But the commercial products like Juul or
Yeah.
any of the other ones, they are not required to be forthcoming with what their ingredients are, so they haven't given the okay or not.
Maybe
on
that'll
any of
be a
those.
new thing they have to do.
Yes, yeah, and that may be what it takes to lift the ban is to,
Yeah, well, that's the point. Why would the company want to continue a ban? If they didn't have vitamin E in their product,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they say so?
right, yeah. So this was just new information on Friday,
Yeah.
so I'm sure we'll get a ton more.
But the ban is continuing, right?
The ban is continuing.
So December 21st or something like that?
January 25th,
January
Yeah.
25th.
yes. So some of the tobacco industry, the retailers questioned the ban and brought it to the court system, and the court upheld the decision of the governor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see where that Juul labs will stop the sale of the mint flavors.
Yes, that's a big public health win.
Mhm.
Now
Yeah.
we gotta go after menthol.
Right,
Yes.
right.
All right.
So we did go to all of the retail establishments the day after the ban was put in place, and, excuse me, we didn't have any resistance. All of our retailers removed all the vaping products. There was a confusion about CBD vaping products and other products that weren't tobacco related, but all vaping products are part of this ban, so they have all complied.
Now, when they say removed, does that mean they took them out of their store, or they just put them downstairs?
They just took them off the shelves. They
Yeah.
took them out of consumer view. They're not required to destroy them or return, they can't return them apparently.
But there's nothing to say that somebody couldn't ask for one, right?
I suppose, one thing that our tobacco control program person, Bob Collette, said was, if one store is giving them out illegally, the other stores are gonna know about it and they're gonna start to complain, so, it's kinda
And then
self-regulated.
who here in town would enforce this? You.
That's good.
Again.
You're the
Yeah.
point person.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
The second item in our work session is a draft application for Board of Health variances and a butter notification form. We did not or have not ever had an actual application for variances before. Other towns have them, and we thought it was a good idea to draft one. So many people ask what we need for paperwork when they apply for a variance, whether it's for a Title V variance or a reconsideration of orders or something like that. So this is just a template for them to use.
I see there's the second page of that has to do with the abutters.
Yes,
So is that goes with this?
it's a sample, so all variances require an abutter notification.
And who lists the abutters? Is that up to the person that's applying for this?
They have to get an official abutters list from the assessor's office.
Okay.
Yep, so
All
they're
right.
given a mailing list with the radius of the
All right.
abutters. And
Okay.
it's up to the applicant to mail them out certified. So the burden of the payment is on the applicant.
All right.
One thing that is missing from that form is the address, name and address of the person that's sending the message. It doesn't say, you know, your neighbor so-and-so. And I would think it might be helpful if it did.
Yeah, this portion here where it says RE number street, it's
Oh.
regarding
Oh,
what
all right,
number
I
of
see.
street. It doesn't have the neighbor's name.
It might not be a bad idea, because a lot of people don't know the neighbor's numbers.
Sure, yeah, we can, add that, homeowner,
Yeah.
owner's name,
Right.
sure.
And then this, what comes back to you, goes to the assessor, or where does it go?
So right now, application packets just come to the health department, and we make sure it has everything we need. It has a cover letter with the list of variances they need, and it has a butters notice in it. So this would just come to us with their packet.
Right.
I presume there's a law, a regulation or a law that states if someone
I'm
has-
sorry, could you, if you want to converse, go outside, please?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, okay, thank you.
If someone has a failed system, it's against the law, physically against the law, to just replace the system.
Without permit, what do you mean?
No, I mean, let's say you have a cesspool and it fails. Is it against the law to just put in a new cesspool?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you'd need to put in today's current regulation, a Title V system,
Okay. Even if it's just a repair?
even if it's just a repair. We have a local regulation that states that cesspools are substandard. and are not allowed to be installed, whether it's for a repair or.
Okay. I thought so, but I wanted to be sure.
Mhm.
So we'll wait to vote, or do you want to,
Yeah.
what do you want to do?
You could vote on it if you're ready, or if you want to change it or look over it more.
Well, the only thing it's a minor issue, but those lines are awfully close together for people with like myself, who have trouble writing. If it's going to be handwritten, it might be a good idea to leave 2 spaces between the lines where you have to write in the answer.
Okay, we can make
You
the,
can do that without, maybe.
you should be able to get it
you
still
can
on 2
reduce-
pages.
Reduce the margin width, for one thing.
Yeah, we
Those are
can make
big
these
margins.
lines a little bigger, and we'll make it a fillable PDF as well, so
Okay.
people can type it in.
Oh, good, yes,
And the-
very
the-
helpful.
The
Okay.
fields will get bigger automatically.
With those caveats, I move that this be approved.
May I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We should see those momentarily next month, maybe. The third item on the work session is to discuss the proposed fertilizer and pesticide use bylaw. So, a little background. Back in 2012, I think it was, this came before the Board of Health, the Harwich Board of Health, 2013, as a discussion to adopt model regulations for fertilizer. Part of the comprehensive wastewater management plan is to get fertilizer regulations on the books. So we know fertilizer contributes to nitrogen issues, which contributes to our eutrophication of the estuaries, big words and everything. So in order to tackle this, towns across the Cape have been adopting fertilizer regulations or bylaws. In 2013, the regulations, the model regulations were very comprehensive, and they included education and adoption of fertilizer licenses in town. So in order for a landscape professional to use fertilizer, they would have to not only be licensed with the state as an applicator, but also with the town. At the time, the Board of Health in 2013 thought that was a little bit beyond the purview of the health department, and voted to not adopt any regulations at the time. Since then, there have been different variations of fertilizer regulations. Eastham, Chatham, Brewster, Barnstable, Orleans, they all have regulations. Chatham's are very comprehensive, and they did move to adopt the licensing of the applicators. Brewster and Orleans did not. They did a much milder form of fertilizer regulation, which I have used most of theirs in your draft. And it gives dates of use. So fertilizer can only be used between April 15th and November 15th. Some of the highlights are using best management practices, not allowing fertilizer on impervious surfaces, having a maximum concentration of nitrogen and phosphorus in fertilizers, and not allowing fertilizer application after heavy rains. And though the fertilizer regulations are town-wide, so that's on town land, private land. The regulations have been adopted both by some boards of health in the form of a regulation, and the other half do it through a bylaw and do it.
So what's the difference between a bylaw and a regulation?
So a bylaw is through the selectmen, and it goes to town meeting, and it gets voted by the residents. So you'd need a majority vote of the residents to enact a bylaw, and you'd have to go to the polls and have to have it pass in,
Okay.
in the polls. A Board of Health regulation, you just need a public hearing. You can do it at any time. We could adopt these next month if we wanted to and have them enforceable.
All right, the fact that fertilizer regulations, including education, was part of our CWMP that we agreed to, how does that fit into where we are with this? In other words, we've agreed to that CWMP, and that listed education in there.
We could add we did.
All right,
We did have a little education piece. I think this regulation will cover our promise to the CWMP. We would have to have them vetted through the Cape Cod Commission,
Okay.
in order to get the nitrogen credits that we
All
would
right,
need.
okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, because I see up here, you call it a bylaw.
So, yes, so we wouldn't, if you want to do it as a regulation, I would need to redraft
Okay.
and have it as a bylaw and not, as a regulation and not as a bylaw.
Okay, then along those lines, on page 1, where we're under purposes, where you say, and I guess I'm asking for some clarifications, where you say to ensure, to provide, to incorporate. Where would you, so this is saying what we're going to do. Where would you say, where would we put, how do you go about ensuring that the application of fertilizer is performed in the manner consistent with that? How do you ensure that? And how are we going to provide a mechanism for enforcing this? Because when I read that, there was words in there that, like, we can say them, but nowhere in here is it saying how we're going to actually do that. And that was the same thing that I followed through with then, like it says, to provide a regulatory tool, to provide standards.
Right.
And then we come down to the same thing, there was under education, and it said where we were going to leave it up to, not leave it up to, those aren't the words.
Rely
On the
on.
last page, to rely on Cape Cod Cooperative Extension to assist in maintaining. I guess I find these not,
Yeah.
it's not clear how we're going to do this. I think what's here is good, it's just not saying
Yeah.
how we're going to do it.
My concern sort of in agreement, but from a different point of view. You've got a situation here where you've got a surprise regulation. 90% of the people in the town aren't gonna know about this regulation until they flout it. And you're gonna have a lot of people that go out to Agway or wherever, and they buy a big box of whatever, turf builder, or, and it has both nitrogen and phosphorus, or it doesn't. And they come home and they put it in their little distributor, and they go distribute it all over their lawn. Strictly speaking, they're breaking the law or the regulation. They don't know they're breaking the regulation.
I guess that's where the education
Yeah,
comes in.
well, but that education has to be proactive. You can't
Right.
wait for people to do something wrong and then
Yes.
expect them to know why.
Mhm.
My suggestion would be that we've got to figure out some way of telling people in a simple sixth grade language way before the regulation goes into effect. Hey, if you're going out to buy fertilizer next month, these are the kinds of fertilizers you can buy, and the others are illegal. And you could even use brand names, because there aren't that many. There are probably half a dozen companies that make these things. Also, you have to tell them, if you're hiring True Green or one of the lawn preparation companies, be sure they know the regulation. Because, you know, you can't guarantee that they're all gonna be educated. Other than that, I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea, but I think along those lines, the landscapers would then have to be notified.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
so in other words, like, I think the premise here is good. What I don't see here is how we're gonna implement it.
Yeah.
so the first question I think we have to tackle is, do you want to do a Board of Health regulation, or do you want to do a town bylaw?
I'd be in favor of a
So
regulation.
would I. I think
Okay.
it might be easier. That's,
It,
I don't know if it would be, but
it would be easier, it would be faster.
faster.
It
There you
would just be
go.
faster.
Right.
From my point of view, the benefit of town meeting is that you do get the education piece of town-wide, in the ballot, everyone's reading it. Everyone is knowing it's happening, and the residents, vote whether or not they want it.
That's if they vote.
That's if
And
they
if
vote.
they come to the meeting. So,
Right.
I mean, it's,
But it would also give us time maybe
Well, they
to,
to get this together.
Yes.
They get the warrant whether they go or not, but the problem is that most people don't read it.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I think there still needs to be a mechanism for having like I'd call it a cheat sheet or an information sheet that, you know, that would be out there with some just basic,
A flyer.
a
And,
flyer
and-
that could be kept downstairs, you know, where people come in and out to,
Yeah. Either way, whichever way you choose, we would definitely give some pre-information before anything goes into effect, or before anything was enforced.
so
How
we
would you
could,
do that, though?
We'd have to talk about that.
yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, we would need further meetings on, one, how are we gonna educate the public, how are we
Yeah,
gonna educate the contractors, you know, do we want the bylaw, do we want the regulations, and,
Yeah.
you know, how all these different things we're going to do it.
Yeah, right.
Ron has a question.
How does the, like Chatham, how do they enforce it?
So,
How do other towns enforce these things?
so the Cape Cod Commission has a list of all the towns that have regulations, and Chatham is a Board of Health regulation. And Chatham's regulation is, enforced by the Director of Natural Resources, Health Agent, Health Inspector, Conservation Agent.
Oh.
How do they, what's the mechanism?
I would imagine it's complaint-based, just like our straw ban is gonna be. It would have to be a complaint-based,
From a neighbor or,
yeah.
I
Mhm.
would assume.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I think we could do better than that.
Well, yes, I think maybe the idea, I think the flyer thing may be the situation where these.
and it's the manpower to
products-
enforce it,
These products.
too.
Me, yeah.
these
Well, we don't expect you to go out door to door and hand out flyers, but we could put them in the supermarkets, we could put them in the drugstores, we could put them in post offices, anywhere that people go a lot to.
Mm.
And make sure that they're out in public view and that they're simple. There's nothing difficult about this, you know?
But
Well,
that's not enforcing it, that's the
Yeah.
education part.
But then you won't have to enforce it so much, because people will know that it's illegal.
It's basically like a good faith effort of the town to be,
Environment,
Are
yeah.
we gonna call it, would we actually say it's illegal?
Yeah, it's illegal.
that's how all the regulations are written, that it's, prohibited to do this and this between these states, and,
Other than
Yeah.
that, it's a good idea
Oh,
as
all
far
right.
as I'm concerned. Especially the phosphorus part.
yep, some of them didn't address phosphorus, but I put it in there because I know
I
we've
think
been
we-
having trouble
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
Yes, because of the ponds.
And I presume something like pelletized lime would be not considered a fertilizer.
Right, in the regulation, it does say something about,
I think you're supposed to have your tested
Right,
before you put it down.
before you use phosphorus.
Oh, that was phosphorus, not lime. All
Right, the definitions of, fertilizer excludes dolomite, limestone, lime, grass clippings from composting, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
apply to that.
I can tell you, everybody in this town needs lime. We got a super
I'm going to
acid,
go to Stone.
acid soil.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the other part of this regulation that others do not have, instead of doing a separate regulation for, is the glyphosate that we had talked about last year. So I put in on page 5, management of unwanted vegetation on town land. So we had talked about glyphosate as a policy not to use on town-owned and operated lands.
yeah.
Did that, I know they've come to the board on that, and I don't think that ever passed the board.
It did.
Really?
Yeah, this board,
I-
previous members, it came to the Board of Health.
Okay, I think it also came to the Board of Selectmen. and
They
did-
referred it to you guys.
Oh, and I don't
Yeah.
think they agreed to that. And one of the things that comes up on that is, the World WHO says it's likely.
Yes.
Nobody else has found that it's causing any issues, and I think that's the problem.
Right, so we can revisit it and
That
maybe re-vote on something about glyphosate, because that information did come out after the vote of this board to include a regulation on glyphosate.
So could we actually set up some sort of like a meeting, just a
Work
working
session?
meeting just on this stuff?
Yep, we can.
So that we could, work through some of this, which seems like a
Yeah.
lovely thing to do, because I think there's a lot here. I think this is a really good start,
Mhm.
but like I said, I think we need to define
Sure.
some of those, but then I guess the first thing is, well, we don't have to vote on it though, really, tonight.
No, don't take it under advisement.
All right.
Okay,
We
Okay,
don't even have to say whether we're going to do a bylaw or a regulation, the whole thing
we'll
can be
discuss
discussed
it
later.
further, yeah.
Right.
Okay, good.
meeting schedule, huh?
Yes, the next thing on the work session is the meeting schedule. 2020 Harwich Board of Health meeting dates and filing dates. The final draft will have the second line removed because we are keeping the start time the same. 6:30 start time for work session, hearings starting at 7. We did change from the second Tuesday of the month to the third Tuesday of the month, so we can not conflict so much with the planning board. They get first dibs on the big room, so, this way we can get some good time in the big room in case we do have something big scheduled, like a regulation change. We can schedule it on a meeting date that we have the bigger room.
Okay. So it was the 6 o'clock that you were objecting to, not the third Tuesday, right?
This is 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So you've already, I just noticed you've already had these on the third Tuesday.
Yes, yep, the dates are, yep, we just need, you to make sure you're all aware of the meeting dates, make a vote on the schedule.
Is everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
I so move that they be on the third Thursday, but at 6:30? Third Tuesday, I'm sorry, but at 6:30.
Yes.
Is that okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, it is 7 o'clock.
We did good.
Did well. The first item on old unfinished business is a show cause hearing that's been continued for 262 Oak Street. This has been continued several months. The unit is still vacant. To give you a background, I know a few of you weren't around when this first came. There was a tenant complaint about a rental unit. I did an inspection, there were violations. The tenant vacated the unit and moved out, and the owner agreed to fix the violations before renting it again. and we've been continuing it. And I feel we can close the hearing. It's still vacant, not being used, instead of having it on your meeting every month. I recommend closing the hearing and directing staff to follow up.
Got that. In other words, you're gonna keep an eye on it.
I'm going to keep an eye on it.
Okay,
Do I hear a motion?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Moving on to new business, we have a request to extend the Board of Health condition from 21 Plus Smoke Shop at 1421 Orleans Road in East Harwich. This request is from Harish Patel, and I believe he's here. Yeah, can you come up?
Like the chair. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
So thank you for approving our, well, my name is Paresh Patel, applicant for 21 Plus Smoke Shop. Thank you for approving our application. Unfortunately, right after that happened, we had a statewide ban that killed our purpose, what we were trying to achieve. And nothing has changed since, and now at the State House, they're talking about putting a ban across the state, banning the menthol and all the electronic cigarette flavor. So we are in between, in a limbo, like kind of dust storm, you know. We just ask board to give us more time to settle the dust so we know exactly which direction we want to head to. So we request the board consider our application and give us more time, because there's no reason to act right now because we have no business at this point. So that just,
So, question, what's wrong with just going ahead and applying, and then if you change your mind, just ask that the application be disregarded?
I think we've already approved it.
we are approved from the board.
Well, what is it that's due by December 31st?
Oh, the board asked us to open up a smoke shop before the 31st because the board put a restriction selling a menthol and flavored product in the.
No, but isn't that just a paper decision? You don't have to actually open the store.
No, it's a board decision, as our understanding is.
Yeah,
So, I
Megan,
mean,
you want to,
Megan can
I can
explain
kind of
and help
explain
us
that.
out.
So these, we had 3 applications. This one was one of them, 21 Plus Smoke Shop, before our new regulations went into effect. So the application was approved, not the permit, but the application was approved, given a expiration of December 31st, to get a permit. If they don't have a permit, they can't renew it. They have to get a new application.
Sure.
A new application here would not be allowed because it's within 500 feet of an existing tobacco shop. So if they open before December 31st, they're grandfathered into the old regulations.
Oh, I see.
And if they don't, they're a new application and we
okay.
can't approve it.
Okay.
That's why they're requesting the
Okay.
extension.
All right, now I have a question.
Sure.
So to me, a smoke shop would also be selling cigarettes and tobacco, other things other than the e-cigarettes.
Correct.
So why can't you go ahead and open with that in mind?
Well, the purpose to open a smoke shop because the town put a restriction on selling the flavor product into the regular store. So that was the idea behind it, that only allowing 21 plus stores. So that was the idea. We wanted to open up a smoke shop. So the product it's restricted into the convenience store. We would be able to sell it at the smoke shop. But at this point, the product is
All right.
banned across the state, and we have
So
no.
you're already selling cigarettes and smoke things in the store. The only reason for the adult store was for the e-cigarettes, and we don't know
And
where
the
that's
flavor
going.
product.
And the flavor.
Correct. And now across the state, they're putting a restriction on it, so
Do we have any idea when the state is going to know?
Well, I do know that the House is voting on the bill for the flavor restriction
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
it goes to the Senate a couple weeks after
Within a
that.
week or two,
Yeah.
yes, correct.
So then we would know probably by our next meeting if the state is going forward with a statewide flavor ban.
All right, now I see here, I think you were asking for April 30th,
Correct.
and you have something down here, February 15th.
I was recommending that only because right now the ban is temporary until January 25th. They may extend it, but
Yeah.
at that point, we would know before the February meeting. So say the ban was still in place the 25th of January and the state decided to extend it another month or two, then we could put it on the February meeting for an extension.
All right,
But I am remiss to think that they need till the end of April, but that's
yeah,
your decision.
I could go with the February 15th. I wouldn't care to go to
The
April
only
30th,
reason,
unless it turns out that the state
Continues the ban.
right,
continues it.
Agree,
Then
yep.
I can see,
the only reason we request April 30th because the construction, because we're gonna need some time to finish up the shop. That's all.
I think I'm hearing an implication here, and I want to check and see if it's true, that if you open this shop on January 1st, selling tobacco only and other items of tobacco, but not selling vaporizer, could you make a living doing that?
No, it wouldn't be right. That's
Yeah,
not
you
the
couldn't-
purpose of doing
You
it.
couldn't justify doing that even for 2 or 3 months. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct. Because we don't know, because state's gonna come out with the law and they're gonna implement that, I believe, the 1st June of 2020. And what they're talking right now, we've been talking to legislature at the State House, and what they're talking that put a ban, all the flavor, all the tobacco across the industry, no one can sell it. Even the smoke shop won't be able to sell it.
so let me ask you something. So if they do come up with a ban on flavored, or let's say even the companies decide to eliminate flavors and they're just e-cigarettes that have just tobacco in them, are you still interested in this?
We'll get a better idea once we get the full regulation from the state, what their guidelines is, because they're talking, waiting to see if the House passes it, if the Senate passes it, and then we get the exact law, how they want the smoke shop to stay in business, or what they can and cannot do.
Couple more questions. Are unflavored vaping cigarettes sold today? And how many, what estimation could you say, what percentage of people who buy vaping equipment buy
No vaping right now.
unflavored?
No vaping right now at all.
Nobody's.
Nobody's selling vaping across the state right now.
So they're not, but no, I'm unflavored, before the ban.
The ban
No
How-
vaping right now.
doesn't allow that.
How, did you not offer that for sale?
Oh, like before the governor put the
Yeah,
ban on it?
Yes.
Yes, we used to sell them.
And what percentage of people that buy things from your store would buy the unflavored variety?
So without the flavor, the total vaping business, just the flavor, not what other things they buy, I would probably say 20-25%, but just the tobacco flavor, probably 5%, if so.
Well, what was the 20%?
All the vaping product, all the
No, I'm
flavors and
talking about
everything,
What percentage of your vaping products are unflavored?
about 5%.
5%. And do you sell those?
Not right now. We
No,
don't
No,
sell.
I don't mean now. Did you sell those?
Yes, we did, yeah.
And did you see any change in the demand for those? Did it
Yes.
get any higher or lower?
Well, I
During
mean,
the
we
time you
can't,
sold them?
people ask, we refuse to sell them, and they
No,
get these.
I understand. I'm just wondering what would happen to your business and that of your colleagues if you could sell unflavored vaping products, unflavored.
If that's all if that's all you could sell, if they eliminate the flavors, and the only thing you can sell that the state's gonna allow is unflavored
Vaping, yep.
vaping
It'll be better than before.
It would probably come up somewhat,
Come up-
but maybe
come up-
not to what the flavors.
Correct. It'll be better
Is
than.
that what you were
it'll
getting
be-
at?
Yeah, because after all, the unflavored are just as addicting as the flavored. They still have nicotine in them. And so if people are hooked on vaping, they're gonna come back whether they can get flavors or not, right? But you think that would not be a significant percentage in order to keep your business open?
No.
Okay.
So that's, we'll only get a better idea once we have a clear regulation in front of us from the state.
So could we do something tonight regarding February 15th with some sort of a stipulation that depending on what the state says, that,
Yeah, you can approve their request to extend with a deadline of February 15th, and we can reconsider it at the February
Yeah,
meeting.
that's fine with us, yeah, that's fine with us. We'll come back, if, I'm not sure how quick this decision from the states can be, but if it's in next couple of weeks, then at least we'll know the guidelines, and then, before the next meeting.
Yeah, and then say the February meeting, if the ban is lifted and you're ready to go, you can say, yes, I'm absolutely moving forward with this, and this is my
Yes.
projected opening date.
Yeah.
Correct.
What kind of renovations would be necessary for you to open your new shop?
But the place we have right now, well, we don't have it, but place we are talking, it used to be like offices kind of stuff, so we're not gonna ask landlord, or we're not gonna be doing,
So it's a complete conversion, it's not a store now.
right, it's empty space right now, it's a vacant space, yeah. So,
Okay.
It's your turn. You move this one.
Any comments from the public?
any comment?
Okay. Do I hear a motion to extend it till
February
15th?
15th, and I don't know, would you have to say anything else as far as going forward then, or nothing?
You can vote to extend it to February 15th. We'll put it on the February Board of Health meeting.
okay.
All right, then I move that we accept it to February 15th, 2020.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. By the way, who is Perrin?
Parish business, Pam is me.
Perrin is you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next hearing on your agenda is Route 137 Development LLC, land off Route 137, maps 96, 97, and 106, parcels unassigned, definitive subdivision plan prepared by Clark Engineering LLC.
I open the hearing.
Any last questions?
He has to talk.
Good evening.
Hi.
I was here a couple of months ago with the preliminary plan. We have filed the definitive plan with the planning board, as required by mass law. We have copied the Board of Health with that application and construction drawings. If you had a chance to look at them, you'll see that the entire subdivision is proposed to be connected to the municipal sewer. All the details of constructing that sewer main are on the plans, basically putting in an 8-inch sewer main with manholes to the cul-de-sac of the subdivision and putting in stub services for each individual lot. That's about it.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Considering that our Phase 2 sewering is kind of in a disarray, when is this likely to be sewered in Phase 2?
So this is part of Phase 2, Contract 1. So this is,
Contract 1, okay.
in the next year, should have a sewer line running down
All right.
Route 137,
All right,
capable of connecting to Chatham.
all right, that was my question.
Mhm. The rest of the phases,
Well, I just wasn't sure, what
Phase.
part,
Phasing.
what phase of Phase 2?
We knew we were in the first
The
contract.
first contract, I should have went with the word
First contract.
contract, all right. All right. Okay.
I did look at the preliminary subdivision approval that got sent along to the planning board, and I have a question about one of the conditions that the board
Okay.
required, which is number 4,
On the preliminary,
on the preliminary, yeah.
okay,
Basically, well, what it says is, should the lots not be developed under a 40B comprehensive permit and environmental impact review under the regulation, and full compliance with state and local regulations is required prior to development. Did you mean to say 40B, or did you mean to say not hooked to the sewer?
well, at that time, we weren't sure if these lots were going to be built prior to the construction of the sewer. So if a house or two were to be developed, with greater than 2,000 gallons a day, it would need the regulation 1.211.
So,
But if it's under a 40B, local regulations don't apply.
right, so, that's why I was confused. After the preliminary meeting, it was my understanding that we would have to comply with the environmental impact requirements if we were proposing an on-site system within the subdivision.
Right. Right, and
And
you're,
that's not clear with the way I read number 4.
in the preliminary one,
Mhm.
we didn't have any sewer plans. You didn't show any sewering,
Correct.
so
Well,
we didn't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just showed a line on the plan and no details.
So my recommendations for the definitive don't include those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Any questions?
No, I move the recommendation of the health director.
Which are the conditions
Close the
of,
hearing? Yeah.
the lots shall be served by town water and municipal sewer. Those are the only 2 conditions.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Drive safe.
I
I'll
know,
get another one.
still snowing out
Too
there?
Too late to drive safe.
The next hearing is for Burset 10 Central Avenue to reconsider an order of conditions granted February 19th, 2019, which stated no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health. The project consists of finishing the basement floor plan prepared by Zebrat and McCarthy LLP and presented by Clark Engineering LLC.
I open the hearing.
Park Engineering on behalf of the Bursetts. When we were here in February, the Bursetts had a plan to finish off the basement, but at that time, we didn't feel it was in the budget. Now that they're on the home stretch construction, they feel they have the funds to finish off the basement, and that's why we're back here, per your condition that any alterations to the floor plan have to come back to. So, I provided a floor plan of the basement area. So if there's any questions, be happy to answer.
This is what's referred to as lower
The
floor
lower
plan?
level, yes.
Okay. Is that bath, was that considered in the original application, the bath in the lower plan?
The original application had a unfinished, completely
Yeah.
unfinished.
Does that change your recommendation?
No,
Okay,
it doesn't, there's no walkout, or
Yeah.
you couldn't easily convert this to an apartment or a studio or anything
Oh,
like
okay.
that, so
all
I
right.
didn't have a problem with the full bathroom.
So is this having a Title V?
This is getting a brand-new system. The original application in February had a dwelling and a garage. Both are now demolished. They're putting one single-family home on and putting in a new Title V system. It hasn't been installed yet,
No,
no.
it
So the Title V would be for how many bedrooms?
Was it 3?
I think it was the,
So they're not increasing their bedrooms.
No, they weren't increasing the bedrooms, but you've got another bathroom.
Well, that was my question.
So you can have, I've given this speech many times.
Okay.
Say you're in a dorm with 20 other girls, and there's one bathroom. It's going to get flushed 20 times every morning. Say you're in a dorm, everyone has their own 20 bathrooms. You're still gonna get 20 flushes. So you don't base things on bathrooms, you base them on people,
Okay.
or, which is calculated to bedrooms.
All right, now, I'm gonna make this a little personal. When we built our house, we only have 3 bedrooms, and we were required to put a septic system in for 4.
Do you have a den or an office or a playroom or bonus room? Well, I don't know why then,
But that was the requirement, they wanted us to put it in for 4 bedrooms.
I don't know. We'll have to look at your
So-
file.
Because we have 2.5 baths.
Yeah.
So I guess that was my question, that if you're adding another facility,
Nope, still those 2.5
Okay.
bedrooms using those 3 bedrooms using those 2 bathrooms.
okay,
Whether you have, all of your own or you're sharing one, everyone's using it the same amount.
When
okay.
it comes to people though, and I know this is an old question too, if you're using the basement now as a rumpus room, then people are gonna have parties. And they're not gonna have parties if it's unfinished. And that means more people are going to be using the bathroom in the basement.
Yeah, we can't regulate how people use their homes.
Can this be required to increase the size of the septic system to,
The septic system required variances as it is to put in the 3 bedrooms. There was just enough space to put in a 3-bedroom with 1 variance, I think it was to a foundation. So to put in a 4-bedroom would require more variances. And we don't allow variances for increases in flow.
okay.
Same amount of people in the house, they're just gonna be able to spread out a little bit.
I think what both of us are having a problem with is equating bedrooms with uses of bathrooms.
Yeah,
And I don't see that that's really a good correlation there. And I know maybe there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah,
But if you have 3 bedrooms, it doesn't necessarily mean you have 3 people using the toilet. You may have 30 people using the toilet.
we have 2, yeah.
right. So the people that would be upstairs in their dining, living room, great rooms, using the bathroom, are just now in the basement using a different bathroom. Same
But-
amount of people, they're just using a more convenient bathroom instead of going upstairs.
But that's not necessarily taking into consideration the number of people who are using the bathroom. If you have a New Year's Eve party at your house, you're gonna have a lot more than 3 people using the bathroom. Without the basement, you wouldn't have had a New Year's Eve party. Now you're having it. And so that increases the use. That's what we're saying. And I don't understand how that can configure with what you're saying about that you can't predict how many people are gonna use it.
you can't, and that's why the state presumes that, they base the design on number of bedrooms, and they presume that there's 2 people in each bedroom. You can't control anything else.
I guess my question goes back was to, there's 2 people in our house with 3 bedrooms, and they
Right.
required 4.
I grew up in a,
And you can't answer that,
there was
but-
6 of us growing up, and we had 1 bathroom.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then my parents put in a second bathroom after we moved out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So I guess,
figure.
well,
I
to
guess we
ease,
can't solve that problem.
and to ease your concern that 110 gallons per day per bedroom is based on laundry and cooking use and showers, and if you're having a party, those 30 people aren't doing loads of laundry, and
Yeah.
so the septic system is designed to handle
Day-to-day stuff.
volumes, right?
Okay, well, that's fine. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure I understood it,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
which I think,
So we
I think
cannot-
I get it.
We cannot license every playroom. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I close the hearing. Any comment from the public? Okay, do I hear a,
I make a motion that we accept the
Health director.
health director's proposal or recommendations to approve the variances from February 25th.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
The next hearing we have is for 6 Camp Avenue, Levine, to consider a request for variances to upgrade a Title V septic system prepared by Dan A. Speakman Construction. Variances from Title V minimum setbacks to allow a soil absorption system to be 3 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 7 feet. To allow a leaching system to be 5 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 5 feet. To allow the soil absorption system to be 7 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance request of 3 feet. To allow septic tank to be 2 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 8 feet. To propose septic system to be 8 feet from the property line where 10 is required, variance of 2 feet. And to allow the soil absorption system to be 4.8 feet from the foundation where 20 feet is required, variance request of 15.2 feet. And to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 4.9 feet from the abutters foundation where 20 is required, variance of 15.1 feet. To allow a septic tank to be 6 feet from the foundation where 10 is required, and 4 from the foundation where 10 is required, variance requests of 4 and 6 feet. Those are a lot.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
You're funny.
I open the hearing.
Got it. Thank you.
Good evening, Dan Speakman. Thank you for reading all that, Megan.
Sure, anytime. It's a little tiny lot, big
Yeah,
house.
it's a little
yeah.
tiny lot, you know, and we just squeezed it in there. I mean, it's the campgrounds, I think. I think we're all kind of familiar with that scenario. If you have any questions, I guess I can.
No.
Okay, this one's gonna be more for Megan. And I think I've asked this before, how do you determine the amount of variances that are acceptable? I guess, and then my question is, I'm looking at these, and it just seems like what they're asking for, based on what it should be, they seem rather large. The delta seems large.
That's a good question. Basically, we're looking for maximum feasible compliance, which means we wanna get the largest system to accommodate what the bedrooms are with, the fewest amount of variances. So there's different setups or different designs you could use for the leaching field. But the septic tank size is the septic tank size, you can't really change that. So when you're looking at a plan, you look at the place on the plan where the tank can fit the best, and where the leaching field can fit the best. And this is the slimmest, most least impactful leaching field that could fit here. Other designs may have gotten it closer to one property line than to the foundation, but I think Dan did the best he could with what he had.
This is a very small lot,
Isn't it?
50 by
It's-
40,
It's one of the smallest lots I think I've seen, yeah.
and that's like putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, so you want to try to be as least impactful to abutters rather than your own. So he's done that by splitting the foundation variances between the house to the north, and its own foundation is 4.8 feet, 4.9 feet.
So, how do you determine whether that size and how close it is to the next abutter? Is there ever a time when you'd say, no, this isn't gonna work because there's not enough?
That
If
depends.
something couldn't physically fit, you can't deny the person the use of their home, so you have to give them some option. So you could say you're required to have a tight tank, but there is an alternative here. There is a place where you could put a leaching field.
All right,
You could require him to reduce the size of the leaching field. So he has designed it for 221 gallons a day, which is what the design flow is for the 2 bedrooms.
Mhm.
If he were to make this smaller, he would still need these variances, so that's
Okay.
not worth asking for.
all right. I just don't always follow that.
Yeah.
I presume the abutter has not made any objection, number
I
21.
haven't heard from any abutters. I don't know if you have.
Number 19, I mean.
I haven't heard
I'm
from
a
it.
butter, but I don't think I'm the next door abutters, I'm behind them.
Yeah.
Give myself
Number
a-
19 is the abutter, I guess, from the
Do you,
description.
you want to make a comment?
Oh, I have questions. I just didn't know if it's gonna impact the road at all, or the use of the road. That was my main question, and then if there's any
Get his name.
impact
Hmm?
coming
His
off of
name.
the property, or it's all completely on the.
No, during the course of the installation, there'll be trucks and machines in there and so forth, but as soon as they're done, everything will be cleaned up and you won't know that anything really happened there.
But ultimately, the plan stays on their property. It can't go across to a neighbor's property or whatever. It's all, the variances are there, but, so there's not an extra distance, but there's nothing off of their property.
Would you like to look at a plan? Come on up.
Could you just give us your name, please?
Trevor Carlton at 24 Pine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Dan can show you.
You're welcome to take that one if you like.
Could you explain it a little bit?
Okay, so here's the situation, the house is here
Yep.
on the lot, okay? And then the septic tank, the line coming out of the house
Yeah.
is going into the septic tank here.
Mhm.
So the septic tank, we're gonna have to do something about the shrubbery that's in here. And then that drains off into the distribution box. And from there, it goes into this leaching trench that comes down in here. This leaching trench is only, 4 to 5 feet off of each foundation and so forth, and maintaining the setbacks on the end. So, the variances are all listed here, what they, what the required setback is and what we're looking to vary that from. So that's in a brief synopsis, that's the deal.
Okay. So I'm trying to just orient, so this is, Pine is over here, is that correct?
Yeah, Route 28 is out here, this is north.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the new house, that basically,
I would say there's something new
Okay.
about it, yeah.
yeah, so it doesn't impact any of this use over here.
No,
That's what I'm
no,
concerned about.
nothing is coming out into the road.
Okay,
Ready?
that's all I was looking for.
No,
Thank you.
that's
Okay,
fine.
you're welcome.
You're
Except
entitled
that
to
there
that.
will be a big truck, a big 8-wheeler with a trailer sitting out on the road blocking half of it for about a week or two.
Yeah,
We would try to do this during the off-season, things are pretty tight there in the summertime.
exactly.
Any other questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I so move the director's recommendation to approve the variance with a restriction to 2 bedrooms, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by us, and variance and conditions to be recorded at Barnstable County Registry of
I
Deeds.
didn't have you
I
say
so
that.
move.
Second better, it's even better that he said that, it's good.
Second, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Oh, it's fine, I like it when you guys talk instead of me. The next variance application is for Harris, 4 Cottage Avenue, to consider a request for variances to upgrade a Title V septic system prepared by Bass River Engineering. Minimum setbacks from Title V, leaching system to be 16 feet from the cellar wall where 20 is required, request of 4 feet. Leaching system to be 11 feet from the bulkhead where 20 is required, request of 9 feet. Leaching to be 8 feet from the property line where 10 is required, request of 2 feet. Leaching to be 8 feet from the garage slab where 10 feet is required, request of 2 feet. To allow a proposed septic tank to be 8 feet from the property line where 10 is required, request of 2 feet. And then a different section of Title V for flow, he's requesting to allow the leaching system to be sized 18% less than the required 550 gallons a day. So he's having it sized at 454 gallons a day instead of 550 gallons a day.
You open the hearing.
Why not put it in the front of the house instead of behind?
Okay.
Let him talk first, maybe.
I'm sorry.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Tom McClellan. I'm a professional engineer representing the Harris family. So they own this house, this 5-bedroom house, 4 Cottage Ave in Harwich Port. They're having trouble with their existing system, so they hired us to design a new one. It's an older home. It was built in 1937. It's a great location. It's a beautiful spot. It's right on the beach. Now, the only area for us to work to maintain 100 feet from the beach, from the top of the coastal
That's the
bank,
answer.
is north of the house,
Okay.
okay? And even that area is not that large. It's somewhat of a difficult design to get everything to fit in there. Everything didn't fit in accordance with Title V, so we needed variances that Megan was kind enough to read. They're also on the plan. None of the variances are in an environmental nature. They're all setback variances. Most of them are setback variances. One of the other variances I did ask for was a reduction in size. I reduced the size of the leach field by 18%. I think it's a vast improvement on what's there, and I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Yes.
I always have a question.
Please ask, yes.
If the leaching field is smaller, do they require, or is there a requirement that they have to have the septic system serviced more than every 2 years if you've got a 5-bedroom house and a smaller leaching field?
No, Title V doesn't have a requirement for pumping anything. It doesn't require pumping unless your tank is more than 20% full, which you wouldn't know that until you get it pumped. But they have suggestions and guidelines for how often you should pump your tank. A single-family home with 1 or 2 people every 5 or 6 years. If you've got a family, you're looking at 2 to 3 years. But there isn't, you can put a condition on to the approval of getting it inspected or pumped at whatever frequency you want.
Do you think that would be worthwhile considering it's so close to the water?
I think that if there were a problem here, the tank is going to back up before the leaching field is going to fill up, I think.
So since I'm not real this is my first go-around with septic systems coming from the city. So when you say, what would back up first?
The tank. So there's septic tanks 101. We've got a septic tank, which is the holding tank.
Mhm.
He's proposing a 1,500-gallon tank. That's where all the waste goes, the liquid and the solids.
So if that backed up first, it's gonna back up into your house. Okay, so you would have that before you'd have problems.
Environmentally.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
It's only reduced by a small amount, and it
Mhm.
was in an effort to make it fit better.
Mhm.
For example, I could have reduced it to a 3-bedroom design, and maybe I wouldn't have needed any variances. But I feel okay with that because a 5-bedroom design is for 10 people to be in this house year-round. It's predominantly a summer house, and it's been owned by the family for a long time, and I think this design is for greater than 8 people to be in the house at all time.
All right,
And I don't know if there would ever be more than 8 people in there every day of the year. And what, the ill effect that could happen here is that the system might not last as long as a bigger system. But I think that those things are.
I was thinking if you reduce the number of bedrooms, but when you say it's not a year-round,
Yeah. And even if it was, I would still feel comfortable. The system might, like I said, it may not last as long as a system that was sized a little bit bigger. But I think it's a good trade-off.
okay.
And Title V allows the local approving authority, which is the Board of Health, to approve a variance up to 25% of a reduction. So he's asking for 18,
Okay, okay,
if it makes you feel any better.
okay. Septic systems just aren't my forte.
They will be.
They will be, I'm learning.
You can tell.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion? Are you done with your, everything? Yeah.
Sure, yep, it's currently on cesspools, so
Yeah.
this new system's definitely a good move. I would suggest it be restricted to the maximum of 5 bedrooms, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health, and that the conditions are recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
I move the recommendations of the health director.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's sticking around for the next hearing. We have for Grande.
Yes.
Grande, 832 Orleans Road, to consider a request for variances from Title V to upgrade a system prepared by Bass River Engineering. Far fewer variances here. We have minimum setbacks to allow the soil absorption system to be 17 feet from the cellar wall where 20 is required, request of 3 feet. And from variance, from Board of Health Regulation 1.210, to allow a soil absorption system to be 17 feet from the cellar wall where 20 is required, request of 3 feet.
Open the hearing.
Hi again. Still Tom McClellan, representing Jim and Maria Grande. Mrs. Grande is here this evening. They own the existing 3-bedroom house, 832 Orleans Road. The existing septic system is approximately 28 years old and needs to be replaced. It's a really small lot for a Title V system. It's about 1/8 of an acre. And I've tried a lot of different ways to get a Title V system to fit, and I just couldn't do it. So we just need the one variance from the foundation wall. And I think it's just due to the size of the lot. If you have any questions, I can try my best to answer them.
So you're just replacing the Title V is what you're?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
all right, okay.
And you can see the size difference. You see the red square that says existing leach area? That was under the old code. That's the footprint under the old code. And when they changed the code, they changed the footprint requirement. You can see how much bigger it is.
That was a vertical leach area, I presume. The old one.
It was deep. It was like maybe 3.5 feet deep as opposed, this one's 2 feet deep.
Yeah.
So when you go less deep, you have to make it up horizontally.
Wider.
Can I have, hear the recommendations of the,
Sure.
Megan?
I recommend approval of the variances with the conditions that the property be restricted to 3 bedrooms, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the board, and variances and conditions to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Come on, Ron, it's your turn this time.
Yes. You're gonna connect to the sewer right away?
I'm not sure when the sewer is coming to this area.
It's not.
It's not?
Not in that area?
I didn't,
No,
I didn't know.
it's in nobody's water.
It's pretty high and dry and away from,
I recommend that.
Okay, second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed, thank you.
great, thank you very much. Have a good night, be careful driving.
You too.
So you have two months of reports because we didn't have an October meeting.
Okay.
The September report, we've pretty much covered the tobacco vaping stuff. Wastewater, Phase 2, Contract 1 is moving forward. You've probably seen the big machines down on 137 and 39 and had to go through
What
the
we've seen is the
detours.
detour sign.
Detour every morning to take
Yes.
Destiny to the lighthouse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In respect to that, I found out the best way to get from Route 124 to 137 is on the highway.
Yes.
Yes,
Agreed.
yes.
Yep. Yep. So Robert Hour gives us a 3-week look-ahead schedule every week because it changes that frequently. And they are scheduled to stay in that general vicinity for another month,
At least.
through Thanksgiving in the Stop and Shop Plaza there. They have agreed to not work the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of Thanksgiving, and hopefully move out of there before, mid-December happens.
How late are they gonna be able to work in the winter?
They're hoping to keep going.
They've been
until
working
they-
rain and they were working
they have.
today.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, whatever day it was raining was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
they,
didn't know whether it would get too cold, that
no, and the ground doesn't
freeze.
really freeze, so they can
Yeah.
continue.
How many houses have they connected so far?
Well, no houses have actually been connected. They're putting the main in the road, and they're putting the lateral to the property line, so.
The new, on 39, as you go towards the circle,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that section in there, are those houses all done?
No,
Are
the
they gonna be connected to the sewer?
part of Route 39, so if you're traveling from here to East Harwich,
Right,
you go through the circle,
right,
and it's about halfway before
right,
Phase 2 starts.
okay. Now, there's a whole section in there of new houses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is going on? Are they,
That subdivision,
yes?
yes, that subdivision has a sewer line down the main road of that subdivision.
Are those houses occupied as yet?
One of them is, that it has its own Title V.
So it has a septic?
Yes, and it will, this board approved that a year ago
Okay,
with the caveat that they have to connect to the sewer as soon as it's available. So once all the sewer lines are in the ground and we connect to the Chatham treatment plant, we'll be able to receive flow, and all of these houses are gonna be able to hook up from the house to that sewer lateral that was put in the road. So right now, there aren't any connections made between the municipal sewer and the private house. So they will be ordered to do that once we're ready to take the flow to Chatham. But we have to complete all the sewer lines before we're able to open the faucets.
How are they doing in the area between Church Street and 137? Are they
Church Street.
Continental Drive and the Cemetery Road and all those?
So east of
137?
137, all the mains are in,
Oh, good.
except for one little section of Cemetery Road, and I'm not sure why they skipped it. Those are all in. Queen Anne Road is being done as part of the Chatham contract, so, which was also awarded to Robert Hour. I don't know their
Queen Anne
construction.
Road's still open, I think, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
137 West is part of Contract 2, which won't start for a while,
Okay.
if it does at all, I don't know. There's been some contentious things going on with that.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Would you explain variances to us? I'm not
Sure.
quite sure how this works.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So Title V has a set of rules, minimum setbacks and other things. Mostly you see setbacks. So with the variances you saw tonight, a lot of them involved a variance to a property line.
Right.
So the tank and the leaching field, under ideal situation, would have a setback of 10 feet. It would
10
be
feet.
located 10 feet away from the property line. Because of lot size or size of the system, sometimes in order to get the system in, it has to be closer than that 10 feet. So they're asking to vary the regulation. So they're asking for a variance to approve a different setback.
Right.
And variances that, Title V has a pretty comprehensive list of variances that are allowed at the local level. There are certain things that aren't allowed to be approved at this level and that have to go to the state. One of those is an increase in flow where a Title V system doesn't fit. So say someone has a small lot and wants a 10-bedroom house on it and needs all these variances in order to make it fit. You can't approve that at the local level. They have to go to the state to ask for that, and the state will never approve it, so.
All right, I was just gonna say, is there ever a
No.
point where somebody say, it
Some
just isn't
things,
gonna work?
some other things that go directly to the state. We had one last year with the school. The tech school requested a flow variance. So Title V requires, I think it's 20 gallons a day per student. And they did a water flow analysis and decided that in reality, only 7 gallons a day per student is
20 gallons per student?
That was a lot.
kind of a lot, right? Yeah. And it takes into effect like culinary and the food service and all that
Right.
stuff. But, so the engineer went to the state and asked for a variance to the flow. It skipped right over the health local part and went up to the state.
Is there a percentage, you mentioned before, is there a percentage that you can work with?
For
No,
a,
if you were supposed to be 10 feet and somebody wanted to be 2 feet.
it all depends on the situation, because tonight you saw
Yes.
variances from 2 feet
Yeah.
to 17 feet where 20 was required, so,
That just seemed like such a, from there to here, like at what point do you,
it depends on the lot size, the number of bedrooms, the size of the house, are they increasing the size of the house? Is it a voluntary upgrade? Do they have to upgrade?
So those are your variable factors.
Yes. I wouldn't want you to approve a variance, so say there's a leaching field along a property line and they're asking to be 1 foot off the property line, but
Right.
they're 20 feet off their own house. I would want to see some kind of balance.
yeah, all right.
I
But
get-
it's really,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Right.
it's an opinion, there is not a guidance
There is,
for it.
yeah.
I get the impression that these original requirements were somewhat ad hoc, somewhat arbitrary, that they didn't base it on any soil sampling
Title-
in depth.
Title V does have I think it's like a 400-page technical guidance
Yeah, but
document.
what was the
Go ahead and
actual?
you can read it.
Yeah,
What
I've
was
read
the
it.
actual
And-
work? I don't want to read all the boilerplate, but what was the actual work that was done to set these limits?
They did studies of how far does a leach field leach laterally, depending on the soil
Actually
type.
did soil
Wouldn't that
sampling?
depend on the slope as well then, too?
Right, so there is some scientific
All right,
basis
well, that's what I
for
was
these. They're not
hoping for.
arbitrary.
Okay, good.
That's why I always have an issue with like, I never really understand, I mean, I know, if you say they're okay, but it's like, wow, we're going from 20 to 2. Like, how do we decide that?
Basically because there's no other alternative.
Right.
You wouldn't allow that for a new house.
No.
But if it's right, all right,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that's a good point, right
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
In other words, you're trying to fit something in.
To something already.
Or if they want to rebuild and make a bigger
Pre-existing-
house.
Pre-existing.
Right.
yes, yes.
Right, if you're in this situation where you wanna make it better, because right now it's on a cesspool, or it's
So
having
that's-
a failure of some
But
sort.
if they were gonna tear it down and build a house and start over, would you ever say, this lot's just not big enough?
We don't have the right to
To do
take away their use of the property. If it's currently a house, you gotta allow them to have a house. We wouldn't, that has happened in the past where they'd tear down and rebuild, but we always look at where the
Footprint.
footprint is, and that we don't allow them to
build
worsen
bigger.
it. Yeah, they could build bigger the other way, but they can't get closer to their septic system.
All right,
They can't self-impose variances,
all right. Okay.
yeah. Other things of note, I had my second annual review from the town administrator.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Although the town administrator didn't pass his review.
Well, he voluntarily resigned. That wasn't a review.
Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark, yes, this is his last week, actually. We had a flu clinic in October. We did over 130 vaccines at one time, and then the other 15 doses were given out to some of our homebound residents through our town nurse. And we had a great 2-hour flu clinic. I thought it went really smoothly. We used it as our emergency preparedness response drill. We have to do that once a year with a facility set up. So it's easier to use the flu clinic rather than recreate the wheel and try to do some kind of other drill.
For those of us who are elderly, how about the new flu vaccine for the elderly? Now, it wasn't available for quite a while. It's now becoming available. How about, what is the story on people who've already had the ordinary flu vaccine?
Oh, no, are you able to answer that?
No.
No. I just know that there was a shortage this year
Yeah,
of
it
people
was-
who
they ran
wanted it.
out.
Yeah.
They ran out for a while, but I guess it's okay now.
It's high strength.
I know when my husband, because I got mine earlier, when he went, the CVS in Harwich was out of it, so they sent us to the CVS in Chatham, and they had the high dose.
High dose, yeah. Yeah.
So you're not gonna get, you are gonna get the
No,
flu,
no,
and
no,
he
no, I
isn't.
did get it. I did get the high
So what do
volume.
they
Oh,
recommend?
good,
I don't
good.
know. What's the age they recommended?
Is it 60 and above or 65 and
I think
above?
it's 65 and above.
That still fits me. They don't offer it at the hospital
No? It's probably not
for
free.
employees.
It's probably not free. Yeah, like the state supplies some free vaccine. We're making some progress through our Acela program, which is the online portal for licenses and permitting. We are trying to put on a couple more applications that people can apply online for. It's been a rough go of it.
Did they ever get it fixed?
They think so.
Well, what do you think so?
We have a meeting tomorrow, actually, to test the fix on the renewals. Didn't, okay.
And I can tell.
So far now.
I might be doing something very wrong, but it
Yeah.
didn't look right.
We're working with them again. This is our 4th year trying, I think.
I've been through this, I used to sell computer systems, and this is very poor. This is not state of the art what they're doing.
No.
They should have gotten this all taken care of before they installed it.
Yeah, I know. We've been through that a few times. We touched on the smoke shops and their issues with the proximity to 500 feet to other shops. We did have a couple complaints about the one in Harwich Center, in case you hear hubbub about it. It's been on the Facebook pages and all that. That application was approved prior to the new regulations, so it does not have to conform to the 500-foot setback until January 1st. If they're not open, their application is expired and they have to reapply as a new application, unless they extend like these
They're
guys do.
just switching operations, right?
No.
They're gonna keep them both open? Oh, I didn't know that.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a, like a deli.
It sounds to me like they're living themselves, you know? Now, who knows?
Oh.
So the last thing on your agenda is a permit list for a vote. We have 3 new food service permits. He Shows Sushi, say that 5 times fast, is the new sushi operator in Stop and Shop. There's always been one, but this is a new operator. We have not issued their last inspection yet, so that one I would approve pending application, pending inspection.
Because that's raw fish, do you have to do anything extra?
Yep, they're required to supply us with a HACCP plan, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Plan. That goes over how they keep their sushi rice at a pH of above 4, below 4, so it is shelf stable. They have to keep log books, and sushi has to be sushi grade fish,
Okay.
flash frozen, or a specific supplier, free of parasites. Yummy.
Where's that gonna be, that one,
Inside Stop and Shop,
inside there?
inside there. It used to be AFC Sushi, but they have switched
It's
suppliers.
a very small operation.
It is, it's in between,
It's between
the
the
fish
bakery
and
and the.
I never
Yes.
saw it, not that, because
yeah.
being a microbiologist, believe me, I do not eat sushi.
No, and they didn't have like a
I never saw it though.
storefront. It was more like they shared space in the back of the deli area or the seafood area where they
Never saw
prepared.
Most of the sushi they sell is vegetarian sushi.
Oh, all
It
right.
is, yeah.
All right.
Or imitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the rice that you need the HACCP plan for anyway. Moose Mountain Maple was a vendor at the craft shows this fall that did not have a permit, and they did apply, so. And Platinum Pebble is a new owner. They are not changing the operation. Platinum Pebble's a bed and breakfast down on Belmont.
Oh, okay.
They have a swimming pool and a food service permit and a hotel permits. They are new owners, so we just have a new application to apply and approve. That's it.
Okay.
There at the Belmont?
Belmont Road, so not at the Belmont,
No.
but there's a small bed and breakfast on Belmont Road, on the right side.
Going towards, the Ocean House?
Yes, going towards the ocean. 186 Belmont Road is on the right side.
Okay,
It's pretty close to Route 28.
okay, what do they wanna do?
Just new ownership. The owners, the old owners sold to new owners. Keeping everything the same. So we just need a vote on that.
Move we adjourn.
Do I hear
Not
a
quite yet. We
motion,
gotta-
no, motion to accept the permits?
Oh, yes,
Yes,
Thank you.
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now,
Now,
Move we adjourn.
fantastic.
your motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right, we're
much,
done.
everyone.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Now,
The next meeting is December 10th?